Hey guys, how's it going? How's it going? Just doing this video from the bedroom as I've laid up here with the ice pack and a ace bandage on my foot. Yeah, since I'm laid up anyway, I figured I might as well do a video besides the pun of the day. Overall, we had a pretty good vacation. We went down to, we spent a little bit of time in Astoria. We spent a night there, and then we spent some time in Portland and got to see the zoo. And we stayed at a really nice hotel called Stay Pineapple. It was the Rose Hotel or Hotel Rose, I think it was. But yeah, really good. Like we had these chicken wings that were like pineapple. Oh man, freaking delicious. Yeah, and then we spent time in it was Yakutas, Oregon, and we saw a lot of, you know, it was like beachside. It was like very much like one of those beachside towns, with the ocean right there and mountains in the background. We stayed in a little bungalow, so we had like a whole TV and like a big old clawfoot bathtub and things like that. Is yeah, and really comfortable beds in Portland too. That was like super, like you were way high up, and it's just really comfortable. But one of the things that I finally got to experience, or whether we wanted to or not, was rewatching Candyman 2 and watching Candyman 3 for the first time. So now that I've seen all the Candymans, I can now rank them and potentially. I did a Candyman 2 pitch, which was following up the original, kind of if they had followed it a little bit more with what happened in that movie. That was many moons ago, and then I got sidetracked with other things. Um, but yeah, but now that I've seen them all, I'm like, okay, why don't I do a ranking video? Because, I may have done one. I don't think I did, but I'm going to do one anyway. So if I did one, just ignore it because this is new and now I actually have reasons to talk about them in terms of ranking them, in terms of what they are and stuff. And then I'll find a way to potentially do a pitch thing that I've done in the past with other horror things where I would try to write a sequel based off of how the other one ended. Now, the second one and the third one kind of connected a little bit, so there is, but there's definitely ways they could have taken it, which we can talk about. So I'm going to talk about each one and then kind of why they're ranked that way. So there's only 4 Candyman movies overall, so this would be a relatively short video. But yeah, so the number 4 with a bullet is definitely Candyman 3 Day of the Dead. Woo! I had heard it was bad. Then I actually watched it. Luckily, I didn't pay for it, though, because it was, we did pay for it because we rented the hotel room, but, it was in South Bend, Washington. And I'm from South Bend, Indiana, so that was cool that I got to stay in South Bend, Washington. It's much smaller than South Bend, Indiana. Small fishing town right by the ocean and stuff. But, yeah, so it happened to be on TV, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go on Amazon and rent it. I'm not going to, it's like, if I'm going to watch this damn thing, I'm just going to watch it. And Anna had never seen the second one either. So I was like, okay, well, let's watch it and let's talk about this. So here's some thoughts on those. So I'm not going to do a full review of each one, but I figured just do it within the ranking. So yes, the reasons for why Candyman 3 is number 4 is basically it was really cheaply made. Basically, the main character is Donna D'Errico. She was on Baywatch. Good looking gal, but not known for that thing called acting. That acting technique that one should have. And yeah, basically she's the daughter of the main character from the second one, Farewell to the Flesh. And she's grown up and she's an artist and stuff like that. And now initially, I'll say this much. Initially, they started off with her kind of wanting to show that Daniel Robital was an artist and was somewhat, I've been, was not some vicious murderer or something like that. So she was trying to, and I'm like, that's an angle that they could have really explored. They explored that for about 5 or 10 minutes. And then we get into this really bad. And yeah, so Candyman comes back. They do the Candyman thing of talking in the mirror. Her roommate wasn't bad. I thought she was a decent actress and was stopping her from saying Candyman. But then they have some big art display and they have all his like artwork and on display. And for some reason they're in like Los Angeles, I think is where they were. So I'm just like, so we've gone from Cabrini Green, Chicago area to New Orleans in the second one. Now we're in fucking LA. Apparently Candyman's just moving all around. His story goes everywhere. So anyway, Like I said, Donna Erico's acting. Um, Anna's not here to do it on video, but basically it was very her reactions whenever Candyman was just like, and then she kind of nod her head, and you're just like, is she orgasming? What's going on here? But it's like frightened child. My lip, it's curling. Oh God, oh God. So yeah, and then Candyman uses the bees a lot. He used it a little bit in the second one, but like they were more an aesthetic choice in the first one. The whole them being in his mouth and all that. But like, and it was really that one main scene with Richard Madsen. But like, man, he just uses those damn bees more than he does the damn hook, I think. And so he kills these artists and stuff like that, and surrounds this one woman that he was with bees all over her face, and she doesn't even die from. But she's her acting wasn't too good either. It's just like, I'm laying here covered in bees and watching my boyfriend be slaughtered. This is my reaction. Yeah. It's like, okay. But meanwhile, there's this cop. There's these two cops, and they're kind of corrupt because, it's LA, and, it's what cops are in LA, I suppose. LAPD, right? Rodney King. Anyway, so he's constantly been harassing this artist who gets killed, and then there's this other guy who did this kind of fake out I'm Candyman thing. And I looked it up, and it was actually the guy who played Rod in Nightmare on Elm Street. So it's like, hey, all right, now he gets to face up with Candyman. And he's got a young daughter. She's pretty cute, and then the grandmother and stuff like that kind of, tries to help out Donna D'Errico's character and realize this whole Candyman thing and all that stuff and maybe how to stop him. They kind of go with a little bit of a Day of the Dead thing, but it's just kind of a backdrop thing. It's not really relevant really much to the plot. And yeah, so she has a one scene where like she kisses Candyman. I'm just like, this is supposed to be your great great grandfather. Why are you kissing him like you're in love with him? It's like, okay, the connection with him and Helen Lyle in the first one made sense. There's like, okay, she's like looks like his long lost love. Although interestingly in the sequels, the woman that he's with looks nothing like her. But I mean, yes, obviously they couldn't get her back. But I'm like, you couldn't have just paid for her likeness, I mean, yes, these days they probably would have. But anyway. So yeah, that happens, and then basically the way it ends. By the way, spoilers, and most of you are probably seeing it or have no desire to see it, so helping you out here. Yeah, and I don't remember all of it for the most part. It was because it was so bad. But like, yeah, her roommate gets killed. He kills several people. But like, yeah, and he captures Nick Corey's character, and like, he's planning on killing him if she doesn't like go with him or something like that. I forget exactly what his plan was, but anyway, so somehow he goes away, but to truly stop him. Oh, also like the main character's mom from the first one or for the second one, like inexplicably got killed by Candyman, but then her ghost has kind of shown up, a naked ghost all the way. So it's just like, here's some nudity, not the original actress that was playing the mom, but like here's the one we got to walk around naked, bloody and naked. So that's basically kind of the thing. It's the typical Candyman thing. He's trying to get this woman to come with him and be in love with him or something, or I don't know. Uh, it kind of got lost in the plot. Tony Todd is trying his best, but this is bad. Um, and so then it comes in and like that one cop, he got suspended or fired because of what he did. The other cop gets killed by Candyman because he mockingly does the thing. So like, then there's this other cop, this black cop who actually was Ernie Hudson's son, and he plays a good cop. And like he comes in and everyone like basically the bad cop is just like coming at them. He's got a hook and all that, and he says, "I'm Candyman. I'm Candyman." And then to basically stop the legend of Candyman, the urban legend that gives him his power, she just says, "Oh yeah, that was that guy. That was that white guy. He did all the Candyman murders." So yes, he traveled from Cabrini Green to New Orleans to frickin' L.A. and killed all these people in magnificent ways that no one could possibly do. He was not even in the car when his partner got killed. So how the fuck did he do it? So but no, they just make a big press conference. Yep, he did the Candyman murders. Yep, it was that guy. So it's just like, okay. And they sort of hint that he's still alive, but I think that was the end of Candyman for that particular one. So that was definitely number 4, just because the quality of the acting outside of Tony Todd and Nick Corey to a point, awful. And yeah, and this what they decided. It feels like the thing I've learned about Candyman 2 is that like, not Candyman 2, but is there really wasn't much more of a story to tell after the first movie. you know, he got sent away. When Lyle beat him, she killed her, got revenge on her cheating bastard husband, and now she was the legend. And unless you were going to continue on with that, and Virginia Madsen was now going to be the legend, then what was the point? So anyway, so that would be my number 4 for obvious reasons. Number 3, this one is a little bit tougher because there's a balance in the. Now, obviously, we know what number 1 is going to be, pretty obvious, but like, there's a balance between the two of issues. Now, the issue with the requel is, of course, Tony Todd's in it for 30 seconds. And what was the point of having him there? And but it does have some good qualities to it as well. Now, the problem with the sequel is that it comes off a lot of jump scares as opposed to just that kind of atmospheric thing and almost Dracula-like power over them, trance and stuff like that, that he had in the first one. But there's also this whole weird thing where this DJ who's I'm sounding out like this because I'm from Louisiana and this is my voice. He's just like keeps mentioning Mardi Gras and he's just treating it like it's fucking Day of the Dead or Halloween. And it's like it's just Mardi Gras, dude. They just people throw beads and and they dance and party and eat and all that stuff. It's really not much to do with the dead at all. But yeah, they the only thing they do in the second one is kind of go in more to how he got, killed, how they chopped his hand off, and they covered him with honey and the bees and all that stuff. So there were some good elements. The actress in the second one isn't too bad. Not as good as Virginia Madsen, obviously, but she's decent for that. So I don't know. It's a tough call because on one hand, if I put it as number 3, but it actually has Tony Todd, how can I put the other one in? But on the other hand, the sequel at least kind of continues the story a little bit in a different way. And at least the set at Cabrini Green. So it kind of brings it back to where it started, at least. So yeah, I'm going to give the edge it's very close. Very close. But like, number 3 will be Farewell to the Flesh. Only just because the requel was a better made movie. There were some interesting ideas I thought that they explored. They just had Tony Todd in them. So anyway, the way the second one happens is, of course, like I said, she is supposed to be the granddaughter, I think, of Candyman is what they're going with. So they still kind of have similar aspects. He kills her husband, and there's a lot less of her being framed for the murder. It's more that her brother is the one. He does actually kill the professor from the first one that was friends with them. And then the brother is kind of framed for it, and he's under arrest. So she's trying to help out her brother. Her mom tried to hide that Candyman existed and all this stuff. So he's doing a lot of like jump scary kills, which I mean he did a little bit in the first one, but this one felt very jump scary. Like I said, they had the weird Mardi Gras thing with I'm the Wolfman Jack wannabe voice, but I'm doing this whole Cajun thing like I'm Gambit. So that was the choice. It's not a bad sequel. It's just the New Orleans aesthetic could have been more interesting if they had leaned into some other stuff as opposed to leaning into Mardi Gras. Like if you wanted to even get into like voodoo culture or something like that, I could maybe see something with that if you wanted to explore that. Maybe I don't really know if that's not relevant in New Orleans or not. I've never been to New Orleans, so I don't know that much about it. Which is why I didn't make a movie with people in New Orleans. Yeah, so like I said, it's a fair sequel. It's not horrible like the third one. There's at least some effort made into it. Tony Todd is still great, of course. He's always great, but but it felt like a sequel that did we need this really? Did we need this to happen? It felt like we kind of had a story tied up, other than going back into how he became Candyman essentially. And the thing with Candyman is he's always been kind of a sympathetic character because he got his hand chopped off and covered with bees because he was messing with this woman, this guy's daughter and stuff, and painting her pictures and stuff like that. So it's like, he's always been a sympathetic character. So yeah, I mean, I think they leaned less into the racial angle in the second one than they did they went big time with the requel, um, which is fine. I mean, it's an African American character who was essentially a slave, I guess, and was you know horribly murdered by some evil racist white pieces of shit. So it absolutely makes sense. But yeah, it's just a matter of how far you want to take that and stuff. But anyway, so I would say number three, Farewell to the Flesh, just by an edge, just because you almost had something, you just couldn't quite bring it together. But it still didn't really make sense that he was in New Orleans, because it wasn't like I understand like an urban legend. The thing is that it's supposed to travel far and that it can go to, but like most urban legends seem like they stay within the range of a town, as opposed to like. Well, now I'm in New Orleans. Now I'm in LA. Next, I'll be in Alaska or space. No, we never got that far, at least. So anyway, moving on. So yes, number two would be the requel, because there's decent acting in it. Coleman Domingo's in there, and Yahya Mateen, I believe Mateen the second. I think that's his name, and I forget her name. The one who's playing Monica Rambeau. I forgot her name right now, but she's in it. And they also brought the mom back that had the baby that Helen Lyle saved from the fire. So that's pretty much what we're going with here, is that he is the son of the baby that Helen Lyle saved from the fire, from Candyman. So he starts to get the, Candyman stuff. The bees are showing up. There's some good body horror in it. I'll say that. There's some good body horror where he's like picking it, and it's kind of gross. There's some decent kills with Candyman's legend and all that stuff. Essentially, they kind of toil with the idea that it's not really like what I don't like about it in the sense is that they kind of just erase his whole story of like, well, this is why he's here in the mirror and all this. It's just like, no, Candyman's just this random guy who gives kids candy, and then the cops shot him, and I'm like, okay, well that's fine. Like initially, I like the idea that like, okay, it starts off with this story, but then it builds to a different story because urban legends, they spread and they change, and over time, something else happens and someone adds something to the story. That's totally fine. I think that's a good idea. There was some good puppetry work at the beginning, like the opening credits with some like dark puppet. That was some really good. I think the director has a good vision and some good ideas. But it was just like there was a lot of dialogue where it was just, I don't want to say heavy-handed, because look, like I said before, it's a character based in obviously racial things. We're tying in the police to this one too. Totally understandable. It's a common issue that's been a problem for a long time with cops and stuff like that, and a lot of the horrible shootings and things that have happened. So it's absolutely okay to explore that, and especially with this character. But there were definitely times where it just got to be like, okay, I definitely get your message. I respect your message. Can we stop beating us over the head with it? Like, okay, we get it. Cops suck. White people suck. Okay, got it. True and fair. But sometimes it got to be a little bit heavy-handed. And I was like, okay, did we really need this scene with these characters? They were like, I don't mind them killing characters that are connected to the main character, but it was just like, here's some random white bitches in a high school or something, and we're just gonna butcher all of them because they're stupid and say Candyman, because white people be stupid and shit, and saying Candyman or Beetlejuice, that's what we do. But fair and valid. But it was just kind of felt like, I don't mind if they killed the other, like the artist people at the beginning and stuff like that, but like it just felt like, let's kill some more white people. It's like, okay, not a big deal. I'm not one of those like, oh, I'm gonna kill white people. It's like lots of white people got killed in all the other Candyman movies, so it's not a big deal. And cops got killed too, so it's not even like, oh, they killed guys. Like, by all means, do what you got to do. But like, yeah, and then Coleman Domingo is kind of trying to turn him into the new Candyman, and he's kind of evil, and he's got a good, strong voice too. He's a solid actor. But at the same time, like I said, at the end of the day, you had Tony Todd in there for 30 fucking seconds at the end. And I'm just like, why even have him? Like, if you were going to go this route, I think it would have been, rather than trying to make it a requel and trying to tie it to the original, just make it a fucking remake. Because then you don't have any, like, preconceived notions. You're telling your own kind of story with it. And that way people like it or don't like it, that's fine. But, like, when you have the thing of, like, Tony Todd is in it. Okay, cool. And then you see him for 30 seconds at the end. You're just like, well, he's kind of in it. Sure. I mean, he's there. And there's his face briefly imposed on another man's face. Just like, it's just like, well, I hope he got paid well for that 30 seconds that he was in the movie. I mean, some B movie called Scarecrow Slayer that was so happy to get him for the 5 minutes of the film that he was in, gave him more screen time than a freaking Candyman sequel. So that's my problems with it, is just that, like, either have Tony Todd be in the goddamn thing or just don't, or just make it a remake, because, or if you, even if you're going to go the continuation route, then just don't even bring him into it, because it's just, because then you just have that kind of level of disappointment. It's like, hi, I'm Tony Todd. I'm here for 30 seconds. It's like watching Force Awakens, and it's like, oh look, there's Luke, and it's over, and we'll see Luke in the next movie. All right, it's like, glad I paid to see Luke be there for 5 seconds and not say anything. Awesome. So it's kind of that same thing. It'd be like going to see a Freddy Krueger movie that was supposed to be a continuation, and then Robert Englund shows up and gets killed in 5 seconds. Like, what was the point? Other than just being like, fan service, fan service. Look, there he is, there he is. It's like, yeah, that's great, but he's not playing Candyman, so what? Because, like I said at the beginning, there wasn't more story to tell. I mean, if you wanted to go on the route of urban legends and stuff, I think there was a way to go with that. I don't mind the idea of them, like I said, I don't mind the idea of them changing that and stuff like that, but it just feels like, but you should still have the original story. And I don't mean you have to retell the same story. By no means. You didn't need Helen Lyle and her story all over again. But what you need, it just felt like I said, either do a true sequel that really ties in Tony Todd, or do a remake. Don't do this requel stuff where we kind of have some people involved, but we don't really care about them. So, so that was my problems with it. Just, I mean, at the end of the day, lack of Tony Todd, like at least with the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, Robert Englund wasn't there for a brief cameo. He wasn't in the movie, and it wasn't good because he wasn't in it, but not the other guy did a bad job, but at the same time, you at least didn't have any preconceived notions of like, oh, I wonder if Robert Englund's going to show up. It's like, no, he's not in it. And I would have been better rather that than had to be like, well, 30 seconds. Glad I watched it, But I will say, like I said, it's a well-made film. There's some good ideas in it. I just don't think it all came together as well. And I think you could have still done the same thing and had Tony Todd be in it more. Or be the true Candyman and stuff like that. There are definitely, like I said, there's ideas to explore there. And that maybe it's something I can tie up when I do a sequel pitch thing. All right, but obviously number one, with a bullet, is Candyman, the original movie. Tony Todd, Virginia Madsen, fantastic film. And like I said, there's just such a great, the musical score is there, and there's just such a great ambiance, and just like the way that like the connection between him and Helen Lyle, and how she just kind of is mesmerized by him, like he's a Dracula type. It is very Dracula-like, because she's kind of under his spell, and then he kind of just like kind of frames her for these murders and stuff. Because it's like, right. But there's also definitely a level of like, she gets attacked and cops immediately show up. But like, some, black woman gets attacked. There's kind of that element there, which, I know they have the whole idea of like, oh, she's a white savior thing. And okay, well, that was the 90s. It's, Hollywood did that a lot. So, but sorry guys, it's still a better made film than the requel. I'm sorry. And no matter what Scream 6 characters say, it's, oh, both. No. No, sorry. Candyman with Clive Barker. Clive Barker, a homosexual white man. Did your movie better. I'm sorry. It just is what it is, guys. And that's an opinion. That's my opinion. But I think the majority of people who have seen Candyman movies would say, yeah, no, that the original is still the best. And like I said, that's not always the case with horror sequels and horror movies, is that sometimes you have like a sequel that's like, oh, that's really good, or it's different enough that you're like, oh, I actually like Nightmare on Elm Street. I've got my ranking. Dream Warriors is my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street movie. I love the first one too. It's great. There wouldn't have been any other movies without it, but there's just something about Dream Warriors. I just like the whole team atmosphere, and there's some good comedy and there's some good characters, you know. So yeah, so it's not always the case that the first one is usually the best, but like this case, it absolutely is. And like I said, I just feel like by the end of the movie, was there really more of a story to tell? Not really. They decided to just cash in because it did well and people liked it, and that's just kind of how Hollywood does it sometimes. It's like, well, those people liked it. Let's make another one. Do we have a story? We'll throw something together. Throw them in New Orleans or something. Do we have a story for a third one? Let's throw them in L.A. Yeah. So at least I'll give credit to the requel for at least trying to connect to the original, but just, I would like to have done more with Helen Lyle then too. Like, I mean, what an angle you could have done there with like, oh my God, this crazy white woman in a mirror is killing people, you know? Then you can go off the whole thing too, like black people being killed by this crazy white bitch. So I mean, there's definitely angles there you could go with. So, it is what it is. But anyway, guys, that is my Candyman ranking video. Probably the only time I've done the ranking video. I don't know for sure, but this one's more thorough because I've actually seen them all now. So yeah, I will never watch Candyman 3 again. It was horrible. Farewell to Flesh, if I see it on, it's on. I might watch it again. It's okay. And the requel's all right too. But like, yeah, obviously, anytime I really want to watch the Candyman, fantastic film. So anyway, guys, I will be back a little bit later with Acolyte review because I have to get my notebook for that because I have to take notes as I watch it. Yeah, keep on watching, guys. Keep on subscribing. Hope you enjoy the puns of the day, and I'll keep on working on healing here with this damn ankle. All right, guys, have a good one.